Hey, what's going on, everybody? Y'all know what time it is. It is 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. Um, and I'll probably say this twice. That way we make sure that it is said. It is 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. And we are here live for another episode of Book Talk Live. Um, so for those of you who have been keeping up with it, know that we've talked about in building multiple income streams for yourself as a result of writing your book and using your book as leverage to open up new income streams and income opportunities. Well, today I have a very special guest with me. This person I call my brother. We've been around each other for more than 20 years. So going way back, but he's actually went on from our younger days of being knuckleheads and making the mistakes that we were making back then, and continue to pursue his education in filmmaking, producing, directing, and even acting. He has over 19 titles under his belt. You can actually look him up on IMDb. He has his own link, which is official. If you are in the entertainment business as an actor, producer, director, filmmaker, you have to have that IMDb to be certified. And he is truly that. He is certified. So I bring to you all my brother, Richard Striebel. How you doing today, brother?
Good. How are y'all doing? Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here, man. So a lot of people that we work with um, are interested in turning their books into multiple income streams, right? So before I go into it, can you tell the people a little bit more about yourself, about your journey, how you got to where you are, so that they understand the credibility behind you, some of the people that you've worked with, etc.
Absolutely. Um, I started off as at a young age doing theater, but kind of secretly. It wasn't like the mainstream thing to do. I was also an athlete, so a lot of my friends probably wouldn't have, accepted that I was in theater and in sports, I guess you would say. But as time progressed and I got into college, I decided to go back into doing what I loved and studied some more, studied under some acting coaches and got an agent and started moving forward. And in the process, I was living in Austin at the time. This is probably like 2001. And there was a lot of opportunities and a lot of things were happening, but I kind of was very comfortable in Austin, and I knew I needed to move to a bigger market like New York or Los Angeles. But I just, and, you have a lot of friends and a lot of things going on, and so, during that time, I was just kind of helping Tyrese Dixon go to school so he can get in and out of, college on his wheelchair because he, was unable to drive himself. And so I stuck around a couple more years to make that happen, and gratefully so, because he humbled me a lot by being around him, on a daily basis. And, but also helped me and inspired me a lot because there was a lot of musicians around me and they were constantly working around him. And it just made me feel like I was the only one that wasn't doing anything creatively. So I started pushing myself to do more. And I ran into a gentleman. I got introduced to a gentleman and I did my first movie with him and worked with him. He had an indie live, it was called Indie Live Austin. It was on the Access channel. And we would go and film a bunch of bands that we liked in Austin that ultimately, if you look at our shows, most of those people became very, very famous right after we filmed them. Not to say that we did it, but I'm just saying just so ironically happened that we filmed them. So we had the same like that most of America did, right? But in that process, Johnny Ramirez is his name, from Laredo, but lived in Austin with me. He introduced me to Tom Taylor. and Tom Taylor then became my mentor, and we went off to win 11 Telly Awards, work with Robert Rodriguez for like 10 years off and on. We did some amazing, all the reality shows you could think of, we worked on. We did some amazing documentaries that were really, really big with Al Reinhardt, and, the justice system of finding people that were incarcerated illegally and, or, just falsely incarcerated. So we were able to, project that movie, that documentary out there, which kind of led to a lot of now the different things that are working in the system or against the system to free a lot of the people that are innocent in the jail system. So along the way, I did a lot of educational things, got to travel to France and to different countries and stuff like that. But I learned a lot, because of these things. And being an actor is very tough. So, and not always the most financial sound thing to do. So I didn't want to leave the industry itself and jump into other things. So I started learning my craft of an actual filmmaker and, becoming, a student of that and learning it from the ground up. Started in the light department and did some sound work, and then, ended up being a camera assistant, and then ended up being a cameraman and doing, 10 years of South by Southwest and ACL and all kinds of live stuff for live stream, and, all different types of companies that were out there, hiring us. And, as we all know, if you live in Austin, that South by Southwest time is a really, really good time for all of us financially. We do, multiple jobs for 2.5, 3 weeks. And that's just like a really, really big burst of income during, for a city that, it's a great city and it is a big city per se, but it's a smaller market, and so to have that 3 weeks of like in constant work is really, really, imperative to living there, and so you become a part of that circle and work with a lot of those people and, learn the game. I've shot music videos for, the Dirty Worms, Smacola. I've worked with, just all kinds of different people from the music industry, Gary Clark Jr. to, Grupo Fantasma, all kinds of different people, in that genre. And have actually some amazing interviews, with Robert. We got to do the director's chairs. So we got to interview and work with Robert Rodriguez's favorite directors or people that he looked up to. So, we met some of the best directors in the world by working with Robert. So, a lot of these things open the doors for other things, and if you got a good work ethic and, you got good people skills and you're not always about yourself, you're going to move on, you're going to be able to move forward and try to get those opportunities that some of the other people seem not to get because, you have a good mind, a good headspace, and you're trying to work hard at getting it done.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That's an amazing journey because, most people are just now starting to get into the business of wanting to create films, wanting to create documentaries, but you just went through a 20-year history of putting in work alongside some of the greats. And Robert, you said Robert Ramirez is one of the best in the business. And you've actually done a few projects of your own. So I want to ask some questions in regards to, I help people to get their books written and show them the income opportunities that come from it. And we've been talking about doing some stuff together because there's a lot of great stories that are coming through the Business of Books Mastermind program. And so I wanted to, if we can, just break down some of the steps of taking a book from just being a book into being a script, and then what's being looked at when it comes down to, is this script a good script, or is it worthy of something that we can turn into a film, possibly. So
Well, first and foremost, everybody's got to realize that there's only, like 4 or 5 stories. I think that it's commonly said like 5 to 7 stories, Pocahontas, Avatar. That's the same story, like that kind of thing. Like every story, even though that you think it's unique, it's already been said and already been done. The uniqueness is how you're telling it, how you're shooting it, how you're perceiving it, what actors you use, what locations where you set it at. It's very important. A lot of the greatest stories that are written are made into books, are made into movies, and we all know this. And usually the writers are like, they didn't do it justice because I had way more detail in my book than they ever could show in this movie. And it's very understandable, mind you. When you pick up a book and read it, you could take 2 days, you could take 2 weeks. The time frame is it's open, right? But when you're making a movie, you usually got the parameters of about an hour and a half to 2 hours. If you really want to be episodic, you're going to go 3 hours. But not very many people want to sit in a, including myself, sit in a theater or in front of a TV for 3 hours straight. It's just a long time.
Yeah, not anymore.
And that's a lot of reason of why we've been able to like do episodics now, like Netflix kicked off the, changing it. So that's really helped the game. And right now is one of the best times to be a filmmaker because there's so many platforms out there. Now, you're not going to get the big screen, that everybody, and not everybody's going to be on Netflix, but there is so many outlets out there that there's ways for people to see your stuff. Like I would love to send you to see my comedy that me and JT Campos did, Eminem, Mexican Mormon, The Adventures of Spider and Payaso. It's a hilarious, comedy that, it's kind of like the new Cheech and Chong or the Latino Friday. Yeah. But I can't send you there because it's in film festivals and I can't have it live while it's in film festivals. So, there's just, some different things that you want to take into consideration when you're taking onto this journey. But realize that as much as you've written down, you can describe that verbally a lot in so many words, is what I'm trying to say, where in a film, we could show a lot of those words visually, and you don't have to necessarily describe that. That doesn't have to be the dialogue, because we're showing you, for example, South Central LA, and we don't have to tell you that we're in Compton. You can see that you're in Compton, per se, right? Just an example. So things like that, you got to kind of take that into consideration when you are going from one step from writing a book to the script. Now, mind you, to me, the script is like a summarized version of your book, right? So if you were like, it's a beautiful day outside, and Saturday evening by the beach, blah, 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 your script would read exterior shot, sunny, afternoon. Do you see what I'm saying? And then a description of like what's going on. So it just kind of, it's still there. It's just summarized a little bit thinner, to where you can get through it a little bit faster. It also gives direction. All those points give direction to many people on the team, your director, your cinematographer, your actors, all of that stuff, so that they can get into the moment. And, the set dressers can make the set look how it's supposed to look, et cetera, et cetera. So it's when you change your book to a script, it becomes basically the best way to describe it is like a business plan. It's a drawn out, description of everything that's going to happen without having to describe it in the way that you do in the long narrative book sense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that's just one of my first things that comes to mind is getting over that, because as writers, we were describing, and
Good writer.
that's what you do. You're a writer. So you got to kind of take a different step once you get to the next level, or not necessarily next level, but this level of writing, which is, script writing.
Okay. So what are some of the things that as a director or a filmmaker you would look at and say, this is something we can definitely turn into a movie? Like, what are some of the key components that you would look at to bring somebody from that book to that script and say, yeah, this is worth us putting on the big stage?
Well, I'm a fan of good stories, period. Like, I would have never turned down like a Pan's Labyrinth, for example, and said, no, I can't do that because that's kind of mystical and different, or Boys in the Hood because it's a Black story, or African American story, whatever, inner city story. That's not necessarily what I go through. Now, mind you, if the story catches me, whether it's an Asian story, a Latino story, or whatever it may be, that's great, because then you caught my attention, and I'm interested and motivated to move forward and to want to be a part of it. But what really interests me is just a good story. Like, if it makes you laugh, if it makes you cry, if it makes you think about your life, if it makes you think about your neighbor's life, if it reminds you of your childhood, or if it reminds you things that you can relate with because they happen to you on a daily basis, those are the kind of stories that I'm interested. Now, I'm not the end of all. I mean, there's other people that want to just do horror stories, or science fiction, or anything like that, and I'm not saying that I don't do those things. I'm just saying, there's other people that just do that. You know what I mean? And they would be, if you have your story is more in that realm, then you would want to talk to those kind of producers and those kind of directors and have that necessarily lane that you want to be in. As for me, I like all kinds of stories, and I like to do them, in all different facets. The only thing that I do, and that I'm moving more stronger into what I'm doing, is telling my Latino stories. And they always have a cross with white people, with Black people, with Asian. It's America, it's life, so it's always going to cross. But I like to tell the Latino stories that I know, that I grew up with, my stories, the fortune and misfortunes of me growing up. And they might not be 100% true, but they're very close to what the experience was. You know what I'm saying? In this comedy, we say a lot of things and we joke around, but there's some underlying stuff that if you pay attention, it means certain things. And if you grew up in that area, you would catch on right away, And hopefully that, if a Latino from Los Angeles that didn't grow up in South Texas like me would get it as well, because we're both Latino and we kind of had the same type of growing up with our parents type of thing,
It's cultural.
It's
Absolutely. Culturally relevant, and that's a good thing. So one of the things that we had talked about, and all these are good points, because a lot of people are definitely trying to get their stories out there, right? So I'm noticing you're mentioning like the cultural relevance, and you also mentioned depending on the type of book, there's going to be certain directors that you want to not necessarily target, but you would have a better chance of getting your story and out there if you worked with, let's say, if you're doing sci-fi, you want to work with somebody who's known for sci-fi films. If you're doing comedy, you want to work with somebody who's a comedic type of director. And so it's being specific and looking at the niche, and not just throwing that arrow out there and saying, I want to write a movie. And then you reach out to everybody in the industry, because eventually that kind of gives you a bad name of this person they're just hungry, or they're thirsty to be in the industry. They're not necessarily focused on something specific, right?
Right.
Okay.
And the
So
other thing too
what?
is, you know, you got to, I'm sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
You go ahead.
No, I'm saying sometimes you might not get to work with these people because people are busy, you know, and they, you know, and money and stuff like that. But they have workshops or they have, you know, an Instagram, and you know, a lot of these people are willing to, you know, to take a little bit of their time and talk to you and mentor you a little bit, you know. So I'm just saying now we have technology and the ability to reach out to people. I think that's the really key in moving forward. You know, get some advice, get a base, you know, utilize a lot of the things and you know that you have around you first before you know you go off and try to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So so two things. Well, I guess since we're doing this weekend and next weekend. Um just giving them some ground steps. I think you've given the people a lot of good information to kind of chew on. Um the difference between a book and a script is that a book should be detailed and focused on, you know, the key points, descriptive, whatnot, whereas a script should be focused on the action as opposed to the background scenery, etc. Because that you want to leave that up to the director, the producer to be able to see what they saw when they were reading the book.
Right.
And you mentioned earlier, I know one of my favorite books is The Pursuit of Happiness. And you know,
Absolutely.
I saw the movie, and I saw the movie first, and then I read the book, and I was like, this book is way better than this movie. Even though, you know, we all sat in the movie theater with tears rolling down our face at different points in the movie, not to give the whole thing away, but it was only about 3 pages out of that book that that script was based on. And so I can see all that. What is the one thing that you would give to an author who's trying to turn their book into a script and into a movie? Like one key nugget that you would leave with them for today, and then we'll touch on the 4 points that we talked about next week and go into a little bit greater detail, and then share the opportunity with them.
Well, a good tool and a good way to start, um, besides, like I said, tutorials and you know reaching out to particular writers or directors and getting you know some more you know taking classes, you know, writing classes, script writing classes. But one of the affordable tools that's out there that is available to everybody is Final Draft. You know, and Final Draft will allow you to break your script down, create your, you know, basically categorize everything and put it where it needs to be to help you flow like how you do when you're writing. And it'll help you understand the process of script writing a lot easier because it formats it for you. So instead of you writing it out longhand, it'll continuously remind you that you, okay, the character's talking right now. So, you know, blah, blah, blah. This is a dialogue piece right here, not a description of the background piece, you know? So, you know, it gives you that direction. And that's just a really, really, I'm not trying to sell their product. I'm just saying that I know that product, we use it, and it's a really, really good and really helpful product. Um, but it's user friendly. You can get to know it really easily, you know, and you can even storyboard on it, you know, which is very important because, you know, if you get an artist, a friend of yours that might be an artist, and they can draw the pictures of what you're talking about, that only helps the whole process move along, you know, with the director seeing the action, the producer seeing the action, you know, the actor seeing the action. It's a little bit more, like I said, on the visual end, you know, and you know, it's that particular program allows you to use all of those things while you're getting everything set up. So that's a really good way to start.
Okay. So if they are serious about taking their book and turning it into a script and possibly a movie, then first step for now would be final draft.
Yeah.
And yeah, we know that you're not trying to sell it, but it is a good thing for them to know and have that in their back pocket, so that as they're working on the script, they have something that they can bounce, a tool to bounce those ideas off of.
Sure. When you're editing a movie, you have to have an editing program, right? You have to. I mean, you can't edit without it. I mean, it's nearly impossible. So, you would need to have Final Cut or something, right? So this is just kind of the same thing. You need to have this particular program. It's not a full 100% necessity, because obviously we used to do this freehand back in the days, without any program. But it just makes it easier, especially with technology nowadays. It makes your workflow a lot faster. The second thing is, tune into what we're talking about. Watch us next week, watch us the following week, watch us as we post these things and get going. And then that way you can get some knowledge, and also have somebody that you can communicate with, and on a personal basis, and dig in a little deeper, because sometimes, you could tell somebody and give them direction and all that. And, including myself, you need a little more time, or you need somebody to explain it a little bit better, or maybe just want to ask a couple of questions that weren't necessarily covered clearly to you. And that's kind of what I'm hoping to offer you guys, by tuning in and seeing what we have to offer. I'm so happy that you've launched your part, and you're doing your thing. I commend you so much, and I'm very proud of you, sir.
Thank
You also kept going, and
you.
did your
Yeah.
part. So you got to give yourself a pat on the back, and we're not out of the woods yet. You know what I'm saying? But we've
Sure.
made some strides, and we're on a good platform. And obviously, working together is just exactly what we need to do for each other, and what we need to do for our community, because we need to help them out as well. And they need to know that we're not out here trying to take anything from them, but to give them some knowledge, and hopefully work with them in the future, because I know that I can't write all these stories, and I don't have the time to write all these stories. And some of these people have already written these stories, and some of these people, have written several stories. And that might be what I'm looking for, what you're looking for, what a friend of mine is looking for. We never know, you know what I mean? And it's just always good to keep a good pool of people, a good network, and have trust in each other and work with each other. And there, the one thing that I like to say is, since we know that all these stories have been done, but your story is still unique, and you still need to patent all your stuff like you do with a book, then once you write the script, you got to get it, copywritten as well. You know what I mean? So these are the things we'll be talking about, and all the steps and legal and all of that, so that everybody can be safe and take care of their property, and not have any kind of issues with that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, listen, I know next week we'll be diving into a little bit more of the process, not just the writing and the tools, but also giving a few more insights into the production, funding, and also like the casting and location aspects of filming, because we definitely want people to be able to take it from one level to the next. I don't you're just like me. I don't want to just give people information. I want them to have tools that allow them to be successful. And so I definitely thank you for today. One thing I always do at the end of every book talk live is we can open it up a little bit to Q&A if you have maybe like two minutes. If they get those questions in quick, then maybe you can answer one
Yeah,
or two.
I got 5-10 minutes, no problem.
Okay. So I
Yeah, if
know
anybody
that.
has any questions, but once again, the information, you're going to be sending it out to people, and posting it on Facebook, and I will follow up with a copy post. Follow
Yeah,
me
we're
on
actually
Instagram. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're actually live on there on Facebook
No,
with
no,
them
I
now.
understand that, but I'm
So
saying in the here in the near future, we'll post, when we're going live again and what are we going to talk about and all that stuff. Um, and follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, IMDb, Richard Striebel, usually everything across the board. I'm probably one of the few and only Richard Striebels in the world. Um, but just look it up and see what we do, and check it out, get to know us a little bit better. And then we'll start meeting up here, pretty soon in the next couple of weeks, and have everything kind of situated. And then, if you're part of the team, then we're going to move it forward. I'd love to see, my objective is to, after having these workshops for the next couple of weeks, I'd like to see what the progress of our students per se is within the first 6 months, so they get the training for a month and a half, and then the next thing they got 5 months, 4.5 months to flush this out. And if you're that serious and you're able to get it done, then we're probably going to work together. You know what I mean? Those are the things that, or you're going to find your way to getting your thing done with or without me, but, or any of us. But the point is you'll have those tools. Your steel will start sharpen steel. You'll be nice and ready to go. And, and that's the purpose of the whole thing, for me, at least.
exactly. So next week we'll do a follow-up, and then we have something exciting that we're going to announce together next week at the end of it. So you guys definitely want to tune in. One of the last things that I always do on every Book Talk Live is I have a quick giveaway. I actually have two giveaways. So the first giveaway is, and there's more great information just like what we talked about today in this book. So for the first 3 people, if you haven't already got your copy, I'm giving away free books to the first three people that comment book in the and your auntie, Miss Miriam De Leon Villalobos,
Yes.
said, great job, Richard. You guys did a great job. And she said, thank you for having my nephew on. Thank you, Miss Miriam. So me and Richard have been we've been rocking for many years, long before we were in this space together. So I see Corey, Ramona, and Dora commenting book. They all 3 just got a copy of the
Nice.
book, and Carolyn already has
Good
the book.
people too. Yes.
Another one. Yeah.
And I want to quickly say that I thank my aunt, because my aunt and my uncle, the Villalobos, David and Miriam, when I was a young man at 17 years old, I moved to Houston, and they took me in, and
Yeah.
they're like my other parents. They watched out for me. I was their test child before they had kids. So they got to get it wrong a couple times before they got their boys and know how to get it right. We laugh about that all the time, jokingly, but no, I'm really heartfelt that she tuned in and that they support me, because I couldn't even be here if it wasn't for them. That was really dark times and hard times, and they did it without a second guess. You know what I mean? So I'm very grateful to them. They gave me the ability to live in Houston another day, and that kept me going, to meeting beautiful people like yourself, and everybody else that we've met along the way, and just grateful and humbled. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Hey, that's beautiful, man. And good thing you didn't mess it up, because you said you were the test kid. Because if you'd have messed it up, then we know how that story goes. Man, we kept my nephew, and no more. So yeah. All right. And the last giveaway I have is a $25 cash giveaway. So the first person who comments cash will actually win the $25 cash app giveaway. And that'll be in their bank account within about maybe 15 minutes at most. But
And
while they
could use that to getting final draft.
they can use that to get that final draft. Yep. Looks like Corey jumped on. Dora jumped. Corey, Dora, Jay. Corey has already won. Miss Dora, Jay, and Heather. So I'll let you decide who wins the Cash App giveaway.
Pick a number from 1 to 3.
Okay. I always go with 3.
Yes, me too. So then Jay gets it.
Okay. Looks like Jay, you got lucky, man. You got the $25 Cash App giveaway, and we'll go ahead and get that to the people. Man, thank you so much for being on. We'll continue this talk next week, and of course, we'll talk throughout the week about what we're working on behind the scenes. So thank you so much, brother.
Maybe we can give them like a 1-episode giveaway of my comedy next week.
Okay.
And they'll have a private password, and they'll have 10 days to view it. And they view it, good for them, and they get to see it. If they miss out on their chance, sorry, but I'll allow it to happen for a 10-day grace period, and they'll have a password that they cannot share with anybody else, but they'll have the 10 days to do it. And if they want to do it, then they'll let me know, and we'll make that happen, and maybe we'll make that a recurring thing.
Man. Yeah, that's big, exclusive content. So next week we'll give them the 10-day subscription. And just to let y'all know, if y'all are serious about turning your book into a script, into a movie, tune in next week. We actually have a course that we are working on behind the scenes so that we can get you all the information that can take you from being a thinker to an author to a writer to an actual film producer, having a filmmaker, having your film done. So stay tuned next week. Love you guys, brother. I love you, and we will talk soon.
You too. Hey, that I believe Dora that was on there. She's in my movie. She's one of the chicharras in our comedy. So that's good. I'm glad Dora was tuning in as well. I love her. She's an awesome person. And that's good to hear that some of the cast members were actually tuning in. That's really cool.
There we go.
Thank you, man. You have a good one. Enjoy your day. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Much love.
See you next week.